back of the $1 bill, there are a lot of important occult symbolism on the back of the $1 bill. On the left-hand side, you'll see the pyramid and the pyramid of Egypt. That's an Egyptian pyramid on an American dollar bill. The significance is very important. Above the pyramid, you will see the words Annuit Coeptus, which basically means in Latin, our enterprise is a success, or our project has been crowned.
Americans know in their gut that the despotism demonically possessing the federal government is only getting started. According to the FBI, Chinese hackers have prepared a barrage of imminent strikes on critical U.S. infrastructure.
The purpose of the hacking was not to gather intelligence. The purpose was to install malware that, once activated, would disrupt or damage the infrastructure.
As the lights are turned on and the back roaches are scurrying, the panic goes live and the big guns are put into play. As Adon Salazar reported, a top meteorologist is warning government weather modification could unintentionally spark conflicts between nations where weather would be used in warfare among countries.
Floods, droughts, and wildfires last year were just a preview of what is to come.
According to Kister's senior meteorologist, John Jacques, the cloud seeding debacle that precipitated the Dubai floods should serve as a reminder that government influence on the weather can lead to consequences that aren't fully predictable. Jacques says if we're not careful, unrestrained use of this technology could end up causing diplomatic instabilities, with neighboring countries engaging in tit-for-tat weather wars. Meanwhile, the next planned begins to rear its ugly head.
You say the next pandemic, there will be another pandemic.
Absolutely. We don't know when. You know, the risk per year, 2%, 3%.
Do we have the capability to ensure that we don't see another pandemic, the like of which we saw while you were leading the World Health Organization? Yeah.
The Soros-funded communist college jackbooting summer awaiting us, incoming CBDCs, nuclear war on a hair trigger, uniparty-backed Orwellian speech laws, and Biden's illegal voting bloc leading up to an unprecedented presidential election. All hell is gonna break loose.
All hell is gonna break loose.
Iran's Mirror news agency says President Ibrahim Raisi and the country's foreign minister have been killed in a helicopter crash. Emergency crews earlier reported seeing wreckage after hours of complicated search efforts. Our Middle East economy and government editor Paul Wallace joins us for the latest. Well, the news was coming thick and fast over the course of the evening. It wasn't until about 10 minutes ago that the semi-official Iranian state TV actually confirmed that the president has been killed. This is a huge moment, but just describe to us what we know and how this news came about.
Hi, Jemana. Well, this crash happened at around midday yesterday in a mountainous area of the northwest of the country when Raisi and other officials, including Foreign Minister Hussein Amir Abdullahian, were coming back from the border with Azerbaijan. And there was a lot of confusion. Initially, Iranian state media was describing it variously as a crash and a hard landing. It became clear that it was, in fact, a crash and things were not looking good late last night. It was very difficult for the rescue teams. As I said, this was a mountainous area. The weather was not good. There was a lot of fog. The crash site was located sometime early this morning, and then around 2-3 hours ago, Iranian state media said there was no sign of life at the crash site, which I think was the first real sign that the president had probably died, and that's something that MERS, the semi-official state news agency, has just confirmed.
So President Raisi was seen as a protege and a potential successor to the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. What happens next? What are the next steps?
That is a big question. The government itself has not put out an official statement yet. saying, for example, who now takes over. It's likely to be the senior vice president, someone who's called Mohammed Mokber.
This is some very strange footage. You can see a man right there, not too far from the crash site of the helicopter of the Iranian president, who did in fact lose his life. They took hours and hours to finally come out and release information, and now we're seeing some of these weird clips coming out. You can see him walking right there, and as we zoom over here, there's the crash site. So why is there a guy walking there by himself? As there's also footage that now shows they took a whole day out of the weather map. This right here is provided in credit from Into Thin Air, where he actually took data from one of the mainstream weather applications where you can track all this stuff, and for some reason the entire day is missing where this accident happened. Why is that the case? What I think happened here is they intentionally took him out. Did his own government, people in his own government, decided they wanted to take him out, whether it's for their own power or for another more nefarious reason, which is perhaps to get closer to an all-out full-scale conflict. World War III is not far away. Everyone can see the warning signs, and this right here could be the thing that finally kicks it off. There's a lot of people who are very hungry for war, who make a lot of money from it, or even have more evil intentions than that to just cause mayhem and destruction on the global scale. The amount of evil that exists in the hands of very powerful people is way more than I think anyone would feel comfortable understanding fully. I mean, this is truly wild. I can't think of another time where something like that has happened before. I mean, how do you delete an entire day from the weather patterns? Also, why are they flying this guy, the president of one of the most powerful countries on earth, into the mountains, a foggy airspace during a time of war, at least close to a time of war, depending on how you want to look at it, as multiple airstrikes were just carried out back and forth between Iran and Israel. This right here, why is he walking toward the crash? If it was an emergency crew, then there would be a lot more people than that. Was he someone who played a role in actually having this helicopter go down? Why were they flying into the mountains at that time, knowing there was a pretty bad storm up there? All of this extremely, extremely suspicious, and this could bring us on the verge of World War III.
This could bring us on the verge of World War III.
We were able to find 2 bodies. At this point, we are operating on the premise that it is Savannah and the child.
A local family struggling to accept today's outcome of a frantic search for this missing 3-year-old. It is news that no parent wants to hear.
Yeah, they're missing loved ones. A woman and her 3-year-old son both have been found dead. As Katrina Weber reports, a child custody battle appears to be at the heart of this tragedy.
A happier moment caught on camera for Savannah Krieger and her 3-year-old son Caden gave no indication of the way their lives would end. Shortly after their photos were released as part of an Amber Alert this morning, Bexar County Sheriff made the sad announcement that both had been found dead.
The park police officer was out here accompanied by our SCORE deputies, and a park police officer was able to find 2 bodies in the ditch.
Sheriff Javier Salazar says they made the discovery near Tom's Lake Park this morning, hours after finding the 32-year-old mother's car abandoned here. Deputies had begun searching last night after getting a call from worried relatives.
There was concerns from family members that they were not able to make contact with her. Her phone was going straight to voicemail.
Salazar says both Savannah and Caden Krieger appear to have been shot, most likely by Savannah herself. Although the investigation is continuing, the sheriff says he feels fairly certain that there's no one else involved. He says they did find a gun nearby. As for the reason, there is only speculation, but Salazar says there was an ongoing child custody battle with Caden at the center. In fact, he says there was a hearing on that matter scheduled for today. Instead, the issue was settled with deadly gunfire.
So, 7 years ago, no one was thinking, I was going to take over civilization.
22 years on podcasts, InfoWars, Alex Jones, and Joe Rogan discuss what's currently happening right now. Google, CERN, technology, vampires, aliens. In a nutshell, Alex was pretty on point with this message. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is he crazy, or is he onto something?
It's really big. So, okay. Pour another shot of that. Maybe get this out properly now. All right, let me give you my best, please. Deep research proclamation. What do you think is going, but am I wrong to still hold out hope that aliens are real? Because I tell you, as one of 2 guilty pleasures that I still cling to is Bigfoot and aliens. Those are two. Bigfoot, not so much. I wish it was real, but I just don't. Are you ready? Yes. Bigfoot's real? No. Come on, Daddy. No. Are you ready? Yes. I'm gonna use the biggest lot of Joe. There are aliens in this room right now. For real? Yeah, you're not of this world, bro. Me? You're the alien. Oh, wow. I didn't know. Well, here's what the elite believe. And let me be very clear, because the media will take this out of context. I only go with what I can prove. Oh, thank you. And people can't even handle that. There's armies. We're fighting a pedophile conspiracy, but beyond that, it's a vampire conspiracy in that they are interdimensionally sucking the essence of our youth. Right. And they believe they're possessed by an off-world entity. They do? Yeah, and Joe, I've been on air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet. What's happening? The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix. But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones didn't want to organize because they lust after power. Powerful consciousnesses don't want to dominate other people. They want to empower them, so they don't tend to get together until things are really late in the game. Then they come together. Evil's always defeated because good is so much stronger. And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it, there's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's why all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected, and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter. So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever. They're proving it all. It's all coming out. Now, there's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things is what it resonates to. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension that's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels. And our species is already way up at the fifth, sixth dimension, consciously, our best people. But there's this big war trying to, like, basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will, and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend, and not just good. And the elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man, which is kind of like a false transmission because they're thinking what they are is ugly and bad, projecting it onto themselves instead of believing, no, it's a human test about building us up. And so Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources. That they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time that's also psychically connected to us that are organic creatures so that they will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball. But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to this system by our daily decisions that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system. There's now a human counterstrike taking place to shut this off before it gets fully into place and to block these systems and to try to have an actual debate about where humanity goes and cut off the pedophiles and psychic vampires that are control of this AI system before humanity's destroyed.
Cut off the pedophiles and psychic vampires that are control of this AI system before humanity's destroyed.
Back of the $1 bill, there are a lot of important occult symbolism on the back of the $1 bill. On the left-hand side, you'll see the pyramid and the pyramid of Egypt. That's an Egyptian pyramid on an American dollar bill. The significance is very important. Above the pyramid, you will see the words Annuit Coeptus, which basically means in Latin, our enterprise is a success, or our project has been crowned with success. And the project, which is a success, is on the banner beneath the pyramid, Novus Ordo Seclorum, being Latin for New Order of the World, or the New World Order. On the bottom of the pyramid, you will see the Roman numerals for 1776. This exact identical emblem of the pyramid within the circle, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, it was not original in America. It was first found on writings that are today in museums in Europe in the year 1774, 1775 by a man named Adam Weishaupt, who founded the Bavarian Order of the Illuminati, a secret society of Freemasons operating in Europe that had designs on the entire world and to bring about what they call a new world.
Bill Gates is warning the entire U.S. that it will reach its end in a few years, and we need to get out if we want to survive. Many were horrified after a TikToker named Peggy discovered something surreal that the billionaires are doing, as they have confirmed that the end of the U.S. is here, and in just a short few years, the entire U.S. will go under, and they have already quietly planned their escape. In 2017, an eerie doomsday map was announced by Forbes as what the U.S. could look like in just a few more years. But as this was supposed to just be a theory, it has now turned into a haunting forewarning. Apparently, Bill Gates has been purchasing farmland all over the U.S. over the last few years, and where he has been buying lines up perfectly with the doomsday map. And allegedly, a lot of his properties just so happen to be in safe zones. Allegedly, his property in Arizona would be in direct line to be a beachfront home when the flood hits, with almost 90% of California to be underwater, but Bill buys the land that turns into an island, as well as beachfront homes in Nebraska and Wyoming, just to name a few. So what do the billionaires know that we don't? Of course, this is just for entertainment and could all be a coincidence.
Developing tonight, a grim discovery in the case of a murdered woman from Milwaukee. Investigators believe more of her remains washed up today in Waukegan. 19-year-old Sade Robinson was killed and dismembered back in April.
She had gone on a first date the night she was killed, and that man is now charged with her murder. CBS 2's Jermon Terry takes us through the case.
Her name is Sade Robinson. Family and friends have been searching to find all of her. The Milwaukee woman was murdered, according to police, by Maxwell Anderson, a man Robinson met on a dating app. Their first date turned out to be deadly, police say.
It caused so much emotions to rise to the surface for all the girls that are missing, and how he was a troller. He trolled the bars, he trolled the internet, he trolled the neighborhoods, and he was looking for girls like Sade. And he found one, if not many.
Prosecutors say Anderson mutilated Robinson's body, then dropped parts of her around Milwaukee. There's been an all-out search to find pieces of her body since her murder in April. This week, 53 miles from Milwaukee, just south along Lake Michigan's shore, a human arm washed ashore at Waukegan Municipal Beach. Someone walking made the gruesome discovery. The right arm was almost intact from the shoulder down. It's believed to belong to Robinson, yet DNA tests are pending. An horrific case now has Wisconsin investigators in Illinois trying to collect all the evidence to link Anderson to Robinson's death. Prosecutors say text messages and videos place him with the 19-year-old the day she vanished. Police found her car torched, and they continue to search for all of her.
Elon Musk is creepy, so he confirms that he's uploaded his consciousness to the cloud and had a conversation with himself. And we all remember when he put Neuralink in the monkey brain and had him playing Pong, but look at this. Now he's tested his first human subject with Neuralink. And I seen something about Greek gematria that I had to check out myself. So I did it. I typed Neuralink in the Greek gematria calculator, and look what I found. Look at all these. We've got the great beast, Muhammad, and last but not least, Titan, and the number of Antichrist. And then look at all these. All the way across the board. There's a lot of speculation that he might be involved with the Antichrist, but look at this. So if he's uploading his consciousness to the cloud and having conversations with it, does that make you kind of freaked out
thought about what AI could possibly be? What if AI is a bunch of human test subjects and they just upload all their consciousnesses to the cloud, mix them all together, maybe erase some of their memory, and then now they are the artificial intelligence that we talk to?
Amazing when you look at the history. So obviously start with the internet. That's a good thing. So
DARPA invented the internet.
Yes, absolutely true.
Wow. Did DARPA invent GPS?
Sort of. So what we did is we actually got GPS into a small form factor. So that's what DARPA did. So the fact that you can have GPS in your cell phones or things like that was absolutely prompted by DARPA.
Okay, did you invent Siri?
Yes, Siri came out of my office.
But if you were to ask anybody in this country who invented Siri, they'd say Apple.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I think we should ask Siri who invented Siri.
Okay.
Do you have your cell phone?
I do.
Well, let's see what she says.
All right, let's see. Siri, who invented you?
Like it says on the box, designed by Apple in California.
Design? Siri, what if I told you DARPA invented you? What would you say?
I think different.
Apple, they get all the credit.
Great.
We get none of the credit.
You know what? That's the best transition in the world.
It is? That's okay with DARPA.
Oh, yeah. Because Apple had a huge role in inventing Siri as well. It's not like I handed them a finished product. We handed them a bunch of technologies that were very useful, and it was their job to then take that...
Well, not useful, essential.
Yes, fair. Essential, but still, they put a huge amount of effort and research into it, and so together we make a product.
A new satellite capable of spying on your every move is set to launch in 2025. The satellite, created by startup company Albedo, is so high quality it can zoom in on people or license plates from space, raising concerns among privacy experts that it will create a Big Brother is always watching scenario. Albedo claims the satellite won't have facial recognition software, but doesn't mention that it will refrain from imaging people or protecting people's privacy.
When I dug into it, I realized that the Black Knight satellite, which is an object that's still orbiting our planet right now, it's on NASA's server. They call it space junk. They don't know what it is. It's been there. The STS-88 mission did a flyby and caught a great HD image of this thing. It's about estimated 15 tons.
It's in our orbit.
Oh yeah, it's in our orbit.
So it's not far out. It's not outer space.
No, it's at Lagrange point 4, I believe.
Okay.
And it's orbiting out there, and it's still there. They won't mess with it because it makes no sense to mess with it. You don't know what type of self-defense system or mechanism this thing may have, but the reason why I think it's important, based on what you were telling me about the gentleman, is because I believe that this thing is watching us. That's what the whole documentary is about. I have 20 incredible researchers in the documentary, including quantum physicists in the documentary with me, an astrophysicist. I think it's watching us, and I believe that it's using quantum entanglement to transmit everything in real time, what's going on Earth, back to home base at Gorgeous. And that this could be the Gravity civilization that you're talking about.
Many different resets and many different civilizations. The question is, how long has this been going on? And have we done all of this before? So, this artifact was found in South America, and he seems to be wearing the first deep-sea diving equipment. This is found on the temple in India, and she looks like she's on a tablet, and she looks like she's on her phone. And the origin of this artifact is unknown, but it seems to be the first QR scanner. And this is from ancient Rome, and that looks like a laptop with a USB connection. And he looks like he's on a PC. These were found on a 1,000-year-old mummy, and they're known to be the first ever pair of Adidas trainers. And the ancient Sumerians with a nuclear bomb.
I think Hollywood has two agendas. It's profit, but it's also propaganda. I think they want to influence society with these movies, and sometimes that's more important than making the money. And then sometimes the money is the most important. You never know which God, is being served here, which master is being served here, so to speak, because certain things are done purely for the propaganda of it. I think movie companies, for the most part, a lot of them started and were owned by the same people who want to engineer society anyway. It's kind of This is part of their portfolio. Some of these folks are so rich, Hollywood's a toy.
They're smarter than me. Please tell me what this is. I don't have a clue, and I don't want to wake up in the morning, but it just keeps coming out the ground and stopping and coming, kind of like it pulsates a little bit, but it ain't hot, it ain't cold, it ain't like steam or nothing, it ain't got no smell to it, it's just there, and it's just coming out of this one spot. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think the sky is ripped in half. Come on, Cloud, get out the way. Y'all see the line? They go all the way up. Can't see it, though. There it is. The sky's turning its head. Oh, did something fall out the sky?
Kanye West is an occultist because his new Vultures music video tells us he is. Never mind the past 15 years of occult symbolism he's been giving us about death and rebirth rituals, alchemy, and telling us that he belonged in the Bible or that he's literally Christ. Let's just look at his latest video. The first stage of alchemy is the black bird, seen here as a vulture. This is the step towards enlightenment in the great work of alchemy. We also see the black sun eclipse, symbolizing the dissolution of the body and getting down to the prima materia, the goal of destruction of matter. We also see the twin pillars Boaz and Yakin, the entrance to the mystical place of Solomon's Temple and Freemasonry. We also see a literal alchemist seeking the formula for the Philosopher's Stone, aka the elixir of life for immortality and man becoming God, probably explaining why the director had an Instagram post of a man drinking blood from a goat and blood sacrifice. The seven-figured hand of glory is a reference to a Yiddish symbol for doing something well, aka great work. There's a ton of Twin Peaks symbolism of hooded guardian figures, opening third eyes, Luciferian angels, portals like we saw at Travis Scott's Satanic Astroworld concert, and it ends with Kanye as the final stage of alchemy, the Blazing Phoenix.
This collection of some 93 standing rocks is thought to predate Stonehenge by around 2,000 years. So this Portuguese formation is actually much older and much more mysterious. Without technology like the wheel, moving these stones would have been near impossible for normal humans. They're so heavy that it's hard to believe that without some system involving wheels, pulleys, that these stones would have been able to be brought to standing. These standing stones are arranged in such a way as to align with the sun, the moon, the stars. On the winter solstice, the shadows that they cast actually point directly to another standing stone some 2 kilometers away.
This picture is from NASA, and it is their collection of UFO sightings within America. It's the exact same as the missing 411 and
No way.
the cave systems in America. Isn't that not wild? We talked about the Solomon Islands and stuff, and the cave systems of like where these supposed like giants lived, and I mean just like everywhere, dude. Indian culture, Buddhist culture, they talked about civilization to escape this mass cataclysm of the flood and stuff. They literally had tunnels or cave systems that went into the earth to the hollow earth where they would emerge on another part of the planet. It's not a crazy thing to like come up with.
But like, okay, on the flippity flip, we also used to think that the earth was flat.
Hey, how do you know?
Worth bearing in mind that when we did AI Day, this version of Optimus didn't work for walk at all. So the rate of improvement here, I think, is quite significant. It's obviously not doing parkour, but it is walking around, and we have multiple copies, I suppose, of Optimus. The thing that I think Tesla brings to the table that others don't have is that we have the real-world AI. We're the most advanced in real-world AI.
NASA owns the rights to the interior of the Great Pyramid.
They also own the rights to a section of the Grand Canyon. Took a helicopter down into the Grand Canyon. They said we can't walk to this area. An area I heard had old carvings or something would be over in this area, so I started trying to walk that way. And this guy pops out of nowhere with all black on, black hat, black military outfit with no logos, and an AR-15, and tells me, halt, you can't go any further. I'm like, why? I said, what's going on?
Didn't they tell you couldn't come over here? I said, well, they did, but I'm thinking, I just want to see, what's over here. You just tell me, sir, like, why can't I come over here? He says, NASA owns the rights to this section. You can't come over here.
Do you have any theories of why that is?
It's got to be technological. Starts at something with space. And then also, where else? Chaco Canyon. Same situation. They actually own the rights to those round former things that look like they might have been domes or whatever. And now there's no dome, but you can see those round circles. So it's like, so wait a minute.
And the lander has not only does the UN own the creepiest yard work at 666 United Nations Plaza, but they also own the highest temple in the known world. And that's on top of Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels descended. And if you go to that city right there, there's nothing there. So you back up and you look on top of the mountain where I would build a temple if I was going to build something. And if you look right there, it says Mount Hermon. That's where the book of Enoch says that the fallen angels descended to earth, right there on Mount Hermon. And if you look right on top of that and zoom in, you can see that there's a United Nations building right there. But what the creepiest thing is the pipes that go down into the ground for the air shafts, because there's a complete underground city sitting right inside that mountain right there. When you dig a city into a mountain, you're going to need air, and that's what those air shafts are for, right there on the side of the UN building, to supply air inside the mountain. This city right here that held 20,000 people, it had air shafts all over it, and they just found this in Turkey, right around the corner. This is a city inside of a mountain just outside of Jerusalem. It's known as Herod's Palace, or Herodium. And that right there holds all of the people that lived in Herodium, and that stadium right there holds 300 people. I'm talking about those air shafts right there. Air intakes and exhaust, it's definitely a thing. This would mean there's a lot of people living in the ground underneath you. Just a brief note about Jerusalem, that King Solomon had 80,000 people cutting stone in the mountain, 70,000 people hauling stone, and 30,000 people telling them what to do in the mountain. Okay, so what's underneath the UN building on top of Mount Hermon? Well, if you click on the little magnifying glass and you type in Hermon Stream Natural Reserve, it's going to take us to the bottom of Mount Hermon, and that's called Peneus. But if you zoom into it, you can see where the Jordan River starts right there and runs all the way down to the Dead Sea. And then if you click on that little man right there, it'll make the streets light up, and you click on that blue dot. Trust me, I've clicked on all the other ones. And it's going to show us that there was a temple complex built right along these caves under the mountain, or right here at the bottom of it. And inside of the mountain right there, behind that temple, there was the altar that was built. That was where they made all the sacrifices. And if you scroll around to the right, it'll show you where the Jordan River begins and comes out from underneath the mountain.
Something big. Mark Zuckerberg may be planning on his Hawaiian estate. Wired reports that Meta's founder is building a mega compound on roughly 1,400 acres of land on the island of Kauai, including an underground bunker with a concrete-filled metal door. The residence reportedly will have up to a dozen buildings with some 30 bedrooms and 30 bathrooms. The two main residences will be reportedly connected by a tunnel that leads to the underground shelter. Another feature that's according to Wired includes 11 tree houses connected by rope bridges that travel along the estate. The report says it will cost more than $270 million to build. There's controversy from indigenous people in the region who are upset about the disruption that this has caused. But this got me thinking about a book, a new book that's out recently by Douglas Rushkoff. It's called Survival of the Richest. He's a professor at City University of New York. He calls this nervous billionaires building bunkers. He writes that here are the wealthiest, most powerful people I've ever met, yet they feel utterly helpless to avoid the inevitable.
I think for the next version of the glasses, one of the things that I'm pretty excited about, I think we'll start getting some consumer neural interfaces soon. I think that's going to be pretty wild. I'm not talking about something that jacks into your brain. I'm talking about something that you wear on your wrist that can basically read neural signals that your brain sends through your nerves to your hand to basically move it in different subtle ways that are maybe not perceptible to people around you. But we're basically able to read those signals and be able to use that to control your glasses or other computing devices. And I think that's going to be pretty wild. And we're obviously still at the beginning of that journey because we haven't rolled out the first version of the product. But playing with it internally, it's really cool.
Tava nublado. Mano, é a sombra. Que isso? Ué, solta ali. Mas não tem sombra de ninguém a nada, velho. Solta ali. Ué. Então, vamos chegar mais perto pra ver o que é que vai. Pega esse galho pra tacar lá. É da casa, será? Não, não tem nada ligando. Não tem nada ligando nos pés. Pô, será que não é um óleo, não?
Here is a picture straight from the Library of Congress presented as a historical photo of New York City. And this is where we get into the so-called vanilla skies. This is classified as a negative, a glass plate negative, which means that this photo was taken straight from the camera, and that's how it was. At first glance of this photo, obviously this thing down here looks a little weird, but everything else seems normal. Right here, when we zoom in, this is a painted car. What the fuck? That's like a cartoon drawing. And over here, we got people that are blatantly like painted in, right? Like this is painted. You know what I mean?
Those are paint strokes. There's like no denying that.
Now look at this. When you get up here, this is all painted here. This is a building here in the original photo, right? This is all painted in. So people are saying, like, what are they actually trying to hide by painting over these things? Because this right here, like this from here up is all like, you know, fake, except for these right here. These are real buildings, you can tell. But what was here that they needed to paint and cover? Even in the Library of Congress, it doesn't say that, hey, it's a retouched photo. It's presented as a glass plate negative.
Wow. Everything is being exposed so far in 2024, and I think the best is still yet to come. Now the Vatican preparing guidelines for aspirations of other supernatural phenomena. Come on now.
I'm about to share with you images I don't believe anybody has seen about the South Atlantic blob anomaly. I have a whole playlist on this now. I've showed you how the blob appears above Bouvet Island. I've showed you how satellite images have this area blocked out on one of the days the blob was appearing, and how if you go northwest, there's a very strange, almost Yagi-Uda antenna pattern. But look at this. These were sent to me from someone who monitors NASA cloud images. Look at this shape coming from Bouvet Island. I'm just a lowly ham radio operator. Okay, I just took an interest in this and I'm sharing videos. What is this coming from Bouvet Island? It's consistent. Over years, we're talking years. I'm putting the dates. You guys tell me, did stuff happen around these dates? Look at this one. What? What? It's just... You guys tell me what you think of this.
In 2021, Bill Gates said all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. Well, he just got one step closer to that utopian dream. On June 21st, 2023, the USDA gave the first ever approval to 2 tech food startups, Upside Foods and Good Meat, to sell test tube chicken. It's actually cultivated in steel tanks, but you get the idea. Franken chicken sandwich, anyone? Live chicken cells are nourished in a broth of nutrients, and they do what stem cells do and create progeny all over the place. And then the masses of lab-grown chicken muscle are then shaped into familiar cutlets, boneless, no doubt, and sold to retail. At least one of the companies is using genetic engineering to promote continuous growth of the cells. It's a little worrying that the proprietary processes used will not be likely open to scrutiny. With the mainstream media fawning all over them, they enthusiastically claim lab-grown meat will bring an end to the high environmental impact of the present meat industry. And then UC Davis Research rained on their parade. They reported the impact of lab-grown meat is likely to be orders of magnitude higher than the real thing. Lots of consumers are apparently averse to their chicken having a steel vat for a mother, but not to worry, the USDA gave the industry $10 million of your money to address consumer acceptance. Now, I'm just wondering, should we be genetically modifying meat of animals that took hundreds of thousands of years to develop into a favorite menu item? Is it just me, or is that arrogance?
Julian Assange has now the right to appeal.
London's High Court today says that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has the right to appeal his extradition order to the U.S. on espionage charges. Assange faces 18 counts in U.S. court, mostly espionage charges related to WikiLeaks' release of hundreds of thousands of documents, mostly classified U.S. information that they say exposed military wrongdoing in Iraq and Afghanistan. In March, the court ruled provisionally that Assange could bring an appeal unless the U.S. could offer assurances that he could rely on the First Amendment at trial, and that the U.S. would not seek the death penalty. The U.S. provided those assurances. Assange's lawyers accepted the assurance that they would not seek the death penalty, but they said the assurance over the First Amendment was blatantly inadequate. This is a big win for Assange. He's been trying to seek an appeal for years. This case has dragged on for many years, and with today's ruling, it is likely to go on several more months until we find out whether Assange will ultimately be extradited to the U.S. or not. There's also an outside chance that the U.S. could drop the charges. President Joe Biden has said that he was considering that after the Australian government reached out to him.
I mean, it's such a mess. And in a way, I found it a relief for 6 weeks to not pretend that the world isn't in the most absurd, bewildering, perilous state. Like to lean into the utter absurdity of the situations that human beings have placed themselves in and the planet. You know, it was great to kind of laugh at that and not to have to pretend to find a solution for 6 weeks. You know, it's because in a way, sometimes you really do have to laugh at it because it's simultaneously terrifying, enraging, and utterly absurd. In this world, each summit was going to have a theme, and that the theme of the summit is regret, I think is really interesting. It's like, because I think as human beings, if we survive this moment that we're hopefully transitioning through, I think we'll look back at and have a lot of regrets.
I think we'll look back at and have a lot of regrets.